A little over 2 years ago, Nikola Jokic and his Nuggets team was swept out of the 2021 playoffs in the second round by the Phoenix Suns. And despite Jokic playing great in this series, averaging 25, 14, and 6, his Nuggets team quite simply wasn't good enough. And Phoenix at that point had a healthy Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, as well as DeAndre Ayton. And looking at Jokic's Denver team, of course Jamal Murray was out not playing as he was hurt, Michael Porter Jr. was shooting under 40%, and Campazzo was starting games in this series. That is the only time in Jokic's career he's been swept in a playoff series. And if you guys remember in Game 4, he was tossed out late for a hard foul on Cam Payne. And after this moment, Devin Booker, a lot of the Suns players, were face-to-face with Jokic and at least trying to talk trash to him. And it got so wild at some points, Jokic's two brothers were visibly pissed and about to storm the court. And look, I don't have an inside line to Jokic, I'm not in the Nuggets locker room, but I have to imagine that moment right there added some fuel to the fire for this series in 2023. As finally, he's gotten his revenge by averaging a 34-point triple-double, shooting nearly 60% and 45% from behind the arc. This series versus Phoenix in 2023 was by far the best of his career, as in Game 4, he scored 53 on 20 of 30 shooting. Game 5, a pivotal game in the series, had a 29-point triple-double, and then in Game 6, put the nail in the coffin with a virtuoso 30-point triple-double, where Denver at half was up 81-51. Looking at this entire series, it is quite literally video game-like numbers with the sliders maxed all the way up. And if you watched really in depth, when Ayton was on the court, Jock Landale, any post defender Jokic made him look like a child and simply abused them. And at some points in Game 6, it was so easy to score in the paint, it was like a Nerf hoop in your room. If he missed, he got the board, put it up, easy to, every single time. The Phoenix Suns in this series had no answer for the two-time MVP. And like I said, I think Jokic 100% took this series personal and played with an added edge. And look, Jokic, he was fantastic in this series. But the Suns and their so-called mid-season super team once again fell flat on their face with another failure. And for Kevin Durant, this is a massive letdown in a wide open West. And looking at someone like Chris Paul, per usual, like I always say, this guy is hurt at the worst moments. As after the initial Kevin Durant trade, I said the Suns and Nuggets were the two best teams in the West. But the overall difference is that Denver most likely would be healthy and the Suns would be hurt. And what do you know? Chris Paul, as always, is not playing in pivotal games. And I do find it pretty ironic, in back-to-back seasons the Suns got embarrassed at home to end their seasons. Last year with Luka, and this year with Jokic, both up by 30 at half. And by beating the Suns team in many ways, it is vindication for the last 2 years of Jokic slander. And look, let's be very simplistic about this. When is the last time Jokic, outside of this year, had a healthy supporting cast? That was in 2020 in the NBA bubble. What happened that year? His team made the Western Conference Finals. Now fast forward 2 years later to present day, he's once again with a healthy team, and again, they make the West Finals. Now look, call me crazy, is that a coincidence when you have a two-time MVP with a healthy team, healthy supporting cast, he makes the West Finals and goes deep in the postseason? Maybe I'm just crazy, outlandish, this is an insane theory. But maybe, just maybe, having Jamal Murray and MPJ healthy matters a lot for a successful team. And don't get it twisted, making the finals, win the championship, that is the ultimate goal and the prize for Jokic. But looking at the BS the past 2 years that we've had to endure ad nauseum, talking about Jokic, him being white, not being a deserving MVP, a playoff choker, a stat patter, all that nonsense in large part was due to his team not being healthy. Because his actual playoff play, him as an individual, it was always great, always fantastic. And people took last year's series versus Golden State, losing to the eventual champions, minus his two best players, as some sort of black mark and stain on him as a player. The proof is out there. A prime Nikola Jokic with a healthy team is going deep in the playoffs. No ifs, ands, or buts. At this point, it can't be disputed. And compared to his peers and the top mega superstars, Jokic at this point is at the top of that list, at worst a top 3 player. And look, a lot of the buzz of him not winning 3 straight MVPs, I don't even care about that anymore, put that to the side. Him in the playoffs this year has proven he's one of the best players in the world, averaging 30.7 points, 12.8 boards, 9.7 assists on 55, 48, and 79 splits. Like I said earlier, those numbers are video game numbers. And even more impressive, he is 4th in scoring, 2nd in rebounds, 2nd in assists, and 5th in 3-point percentage. He is the only player in the world top 5 in all those categories. Looking across NBA history, at players in their prime at age 27, 26, even 28, it doesn't get much better for that at the center position. And what I find highly impressive about Jokic, when it comes to playoffs every year, he elevates his own play. As this year in the playoffs, he is averaging 6 more points than the regular season. Compared to some stars, some quote-unquote MVPs who go stagnant in the playoffs and even get worse. And when it comes to being the best in the world, Jokic at this point has a really solid case. As looking at Giannis, he was bounced in the first round. LeBron James, 38, he's been good, not great. Kevin Durant got beat by Jokic. Embiid, he might get bounced in the second round, might make the conference finals. Hasn't played nearly as good as Jokic. And looking at someone like Luka, he didn't even make the playoffs. The only real player I see competing with Jokic for the best in the world title is Steph Curry. And depending on his series, he could be out before the conference finals, leaving Jokic as the clear best in the world. And look, I'll admit it, coming into the playoffs, my top 3 players were Giannis, Curry, and Jokic. That top 3 for some people will be controversial with Jokic being 3. But like I showed you guys, his play in the playoffs has vindicated all that, all the hype, all the rankings, and especially the MVPs. Now, looking back at Denver as an overall team, at this point, they're firing on all cylinders. And really, their 1 through 7 spot, with Aaron Gordon, Porter, Bruce Brown, even KCP in Game 6, it's going on all cylinders and it's a well-oiled machine. Now look, is that in part due to Phoenix not being a great defensive team? Maybe it is, we'll have to see. But Denver at this point I view as the clear-cut favorite to make the finals out of the West. And from a star perspective, in the most crucial games, crucial moments, Jokic right now is up there with Jimmy Butler. And one thing I find kind of funny, is not a slight against Jimmy, but they call him Playoff Jimmy for elevating his play in the playoffs. At some point, there should be the moniker of Playoff Jokic, because him now, compared to 6 weeks ago, his play is astronomically better. But unlike Jimmy, Jokic's team is much deeper. His second option, third option, even fourth option are better players. As you guys can tell, I am ecstatic about Denver making the West Finals, as it validates numerous debates, numerous arguments we've had on this channel for the past 2 years. And look, at some points, it felt like it was screaming into the void and talking to absolutely no one. But Jokic coming through like he did, once again, is vindication, validation, and just everything bundled into one. And hopefully his Denver team can make the finals, play great in that series, and maybe, just maybe, win the championship. And if that actually happens, we're going to have a crazy offseason, some crazy debates, some crazy receipts coming out. It's going to be all-time great. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.